Bride is abandoned on a deserted road until this beggar boy finds her. Jennifer Hayes Thompson dragged her bare feet on the hot asphalt, clutching her wedding shoes in trembling hands. The white lace dress, which had cost 3 months' salary, was now stained with dust and tears that wouldn't stop falling. That's when she heard footsteps running behind her. She turned and saw a scrawny boy, about 12 years old, carrying a tattered backpack. "Ma'am, I saw everything," the boy shouted, out of breath. "Your husband didn't leave alone." Jennifer stopped walking, still in shock. 3 hours earlier, she had been at the altar of St. Mary's Church waiting for Richard when the priest announced the groom had backed out. The humiliation in front of 200 guests still burned in her chest. "What do you mean?" she asked, her voice hoarse from crying. "I was sleeping behind the church waiting for leftovers from the reception," the boy said, lowering his eyes. "I saw him get into a black car with a blonde woman. She was wearing a blue dress just like the bridesmaids." Jennifer's heart raced. Only one person had worn a dress in that exact shade of blue, her sister Vanessa, who had disappeared from the ceremony claiming she felt sick. "Are you sure about what you saw?" Jennifer knelt in front of the boy, gripping his shoulders. "Yes, Mom. They kissed before getting in the car, and the man said something about the airport." Jennifer's legs weakened. It couldn't be true. Vanessa, her sister 5 years younger, was involved in this. They had always been close, despite their different personalities. Jennifer had even chosen Vanessa as her maid of honor. "What's your name?" she asked, trying to gather her thoughts. "Michael, ma'am. Michael Rodriguez. But everyone calls me Mikey. And what were you doing sleeping behind the church, Mikey?" The boy hesitated, nervously fidgeting with his backpack strap. "My mum. She's sick. My dad drinks too much when he's upset. Sometimes it's better if I'm not home." Jennifer felt a pang in her chest. Here she was, grieving being left at the altar, while this boy faced far worse struggles. "Do you have somewhere to stay tonight?" "Yeah, I know a place." Mikey looked up at the darkening sky. "You shouldn't be walking alone on this road, ma'am. It's dangerous." Jennifer glanced around. She was indeed in the middle of a back road, unsure where to go. Her house was 15 miles away, and she had stormed out of the church without thinking. "Can you take me to this place?" she asked. I don't have anywhere to go right now." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel. It really helps us newcomers. Now back to the story. Mikey nodded and started walking down the dirt road leading inland. Jennifer followed, still processing everything. The silence was broken only by birdsong and the rustling of leaves. "Why did you decide to tell me this?" Jennifer asked after a few minutes. "Because you deserve to know the truth. My mum always said, lies hurt worse than the truth." They walked for another 20 minutes until they reached an abandoned shed behind a small farm. Mikey pushed aside a loose board in the wall, creating an opening just big enough to slip through. "This is my spot," he said, lighting a candle. "It's not much, but it's clean and safe." Jennifer was surprised by how tidy the place was. There was an old but neatly made mattress in the corner, some folded clothes in a cardboard box, and even a stack of school books. "Have you lived here long?" "About 3 months, since my mum went to the hospital." Mikey sat on the floor, hugging his knees. "My dad. He gets really angry when he drinks, and he drinks every day since she got sick." "What about school?" "I go when I can. The principal, Mrs. Williams, lets me shower there, and sometimes even gives me food. She's a good person." Jennifer sat on the mattress, still holding the shoes. The wedding dress, once a symbol of happiness, now felt like a cruel costume. "Mikey, you said you saw Richard with a blonde woman. Are you sure it was my sister? She looked a lot like you, just younger, and she called him baby when they got in the car." Tears streamed down Jennifer's face again. Vanessa had always been jealous of her professional success. Jennifer was a successful lawyer with her own firm, while Vanessa had never been able to hold a job for long, but she never imagined the jealousy would go this far. "Are you sure they talked about the airport?" "Yeah," the man said. "The flight leaves at 8. We have to get there before 7. Jennifer checked the clock. It was 6:15 p.m. If she could get to the airport in time, maybe she could confront them. But how? She had no car, no money in her purse, and was 10 miles from home. "Mikey, Do you know anyone who could give us a ride to the city? There's old Bill. He drives by every night with his truck. He's a good guy. He'd probably take us. What time does he come? Around 7:30, but it's a bit risky. If he doesn't show today, Jennifer thought fast. Even if she made it to the airport, what would she do? She didn't have money for a ticket, and they'd probably already be boarding, but she had to try something. Mikey, do you have a phone? I've got an old one I found in the trash. No SIM card, but sometimes I catch the school's Wi-Fi. Does it take pictures? Yeah. An idea struck Jennifer. If Mikey really had seen Richard and Vanessa together, maybe there was other evidence. Maybe she could build a case, gather proof of the betrayal. Did you, by any chance, take any photos? Mikey looked down, ashamed. I did take some, but I didn't mean anything bad, I swear. It's just, they've been meeting behind the church for weeks. Always seemed weird to me. Weeks? Jennifer's blood ran cold. Yeah, every Thursday afternoon. I'd watch because, well, it gets lonely sometimes. Then I noticed they always came at the same time. Jennifer felt like she'd been punched in the gut. Thursdays were the days she stayed late at the office, handling the toughest cases. Vanessa knew that. Can you show me those photos? Mikey fumbled with the scratched screen of his old phone. Here, look. Jennifer took the phone with trembling hands. The first photo showed Richard and Vanessa kissing against the side of the church. The timestamp in the corner read 3 weeks ago. My God, she whispered. There were more photos. Richard handing Vanessa flowers, the two hugging and talking. In one, Vanessa was holding what looked like a key. That key, do you know what it is? No clue, but she was real happy when he gave it to her. Jennifer recognized it immediately. It was the key to the apartment she'd bought as an investment downtown, the same apartment Richard had borrowed a few times, claiming he needed a quiet place for special projects. Mikey, I need to ask you something important. Did you ever hear them talking about money or traveling? Yeah, last week they were talking about a bank account, and she said after the wedding, you were all going to Europe. Europe? Jennifer had never planned any international trip. Yeah, she said she'd already bought the tickets. At that moment, Jennifer understood the full extent of the betrayal. It wasn't just a romantic adventure, it was an elaborate plan to rob her. Richard had access to her bank accounts as her personal accountant, and Vanessa knew all her plans and routines. Mikey, you're very clever. Thank you for telling me all this. Are you going to be okay, Mom? Jennifer looked at the boy and felt a strange sense of protectiveness. Even though she was having the worst day of her life, she couldn't stop thinking about his situation. I will be. But tell me something. Which hospital is your mother in? The public hospital in town, County General. And what's wrong with her? Mikey hesitated again, as if talking about it was painful. The doctors said she needs heart surgery, but it's expensive. My dad doesn't have the money, and, well, since he started drinking, he lost his job. And you don't have any other family? My grandma lived with us, but she passed away last year. Jennifer felt a wave of compassion. Here was a 12-year-old boy facing problems alone that many adults couldn't handle. Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the channel. It really helps those of us just starting out. Now, continuing. Mikey, where exactly is your house? In Oakwood Heights, near the brick factory. Jennifer knew the neighborhood. It was one of the poorest areas in the city, where many families struggled to survive with odd jobs. And your dad, what's his name? Tony Rodriguez. He worked as a bricklayer before he started drinking. Suddenly, the sound of an approaching engine made them both alert. It was an old truck honking 3 times in a row. That's old Bill, Mikey said, jumping to his feet. Come on, Miss Jennifer. He'll take us to town. They quickly left the warehouse. The truck driver, a man in his 60s with graying hair, waved from the cab. Good evening, Mikey. Who's the lady there? This is Miss Jennifer, old Bill. She needs a ride to town. Please. The man looked at Jennifer in her dirty wedding dress and didn't ask questions. Of course, hop in, but I'll have to drop you off downtown. That's where I stop. During the 40-minute ride, Jennifer explained part of the situation to old Bill, who listened silently, shaking his head in disapproval. Young lady, In 40 years of marriage, I've learned one thing. When someone cheats once, it's not an impulse. It's because they've been planning it for a while. You did well finding out before officially marrying. But I feel so stupid. How did I not notice anything? Because you trusted, and there's nothing wrong with that. What's wrong is the person who took advantage of that trust. Mikey, sitting between them, listened quietly. When they reached downtown, Jennifer thanked him for the ride and got out with Mikey. "Now what?" the boy asked. Jennifer looked around. It was almost 8 at night. The airport was over an hour away, and she probably wouldn't make it in time. But there were other things she could do. "Mikey, do you know where the courthouse is?" "Yeah, it's over on Blossom Street." "Great. Tomorrow morning I'll need your help to sort some things out. But tonight you're not sleeping on the street." "What do you mean?" "There's a hotel right on the corner. We'll stay there tonight." "But, Miss Jennifer, I don't have any money." "I'll pay. And tomorrow we'll go find your parents. My dad will be drunk. Then we'll talk to him anyway. Sometimes people need to hear some hard truths to wake up." At the hotel, Jennifer asked for 2 separate rooms. While Mikey took a shower, she finally had a moment to process everything that had happened. She called her mother, Mrs. Betty, who was traveling to visit a sister in another state. "Mom, I need to tell you something very serious." "Jennifer, honey, why are you calling so late? How was the wedding?" "Mom, there was no wedding. Richard left me at the altar." The silence on the other end of the line was deafening. "What do you mean, sweetheart?" Jennifer told her everything: the abandonment, the encounter with Mikey, the photos, the suspicion about Vanessa. "My dear, this can't be true. Vanessa would never do something like that." "Mom, I saw the photos. They've been meeting for weeks." "Jennifer, you're very upset. Maybe you're misinterpreting things." "Mom, do you trust me or not?" Mrs. Betty sighed. "Of course I trust you, honey. It's just, Vanessa is so young. She wouldn't have the maturity to plan something like this." "Well, I'm going to find out the truth, and when I do, I'll prove it to you." After hanging up, Jennifer felt even more alone. Not even her mother fully believed her, but she had Mikey, and that, in some strange way, comforted her. The next morning, they met for breakfast at the hotel. "Did you sleep well, Mikey?" "Better than I have in a long time, thank you, Miss Jennifer. Today's going to be a busy day. First, we'll go to the courthouse to check if Richard made any recent changes to the documents. Then we'll go to the bank. And this afternoon, we'll visit your mom at the hospital." "What about my dad?" "Him too. But first, I want to understand your family's financial situation better." At the courthouse, Jennifer discovered that Richard had tried to change their marital property agreement the previous week, but couldn't because he needed her signature. "What kind of change?" she asked the clerk. "He wanted to switch from partial separation to universal community property." Jennifer froze. If the wedding had gone through with that change, Richard would have been entitled to half of everything she owned. "Did he give any reason?" "He said it was the bride's request, that she wanted to show complete trust in the relationship." "He lied. I never asked for that." At the bank, the news was even worse. Richard had made several transfer attempts in recent weeks, all blocked because they required dual authorization for large amounts. "Did he manage to withdraw anything?" Jennifer asked the manager. "Yes. Last Friday, he took out $20,000. That was the maximum allowed with just one signature." $20,000. Jennifer's legs felt weak. He said it was for final wedding expenses, the honeymoon, things like that. Mikey, who had been sitting beside her listening, touched Jennifer's arm. "Miss Jennifer, I think I know where they are." "What do you mean?" "Last night, while you were on the phone, I called Mrs. Williams from the school. She said she saw your sister this morning at the market, buying things like she was going on a trip." "Did she say anything else?" "She mentioned your sister talked about spending a few days at a beach inn in Malibu." Jennifer knew the inn. It was a place she and Richard had visited a few times. Vanessa knew because Jennifer always posted photos on social media when she went there. "Mikey, you're a natural detective. How did you think of that?" "My mom always said when people lie, they leave clues without meaning to. You just have to pay attention." "Your mom was a very wise woman." "She was. Now she can barely speak because of the medication." Jennifer decided it was time to meet Mikey's family. They took a taxi to Oakwood Heights. The house was small, with peeling walls and a rusty gate. Jennifer knocked a few times before hearing shuffling footsteps inside. "Who is it?" a hoarse voice asked. "Dad, it's me, Mikey." The door opened, revealing a thin, weary-looking man with the strong smell of alcohol. "Mikey? Boy, where have you been?" Tony tried to focus his eyes on his son. "Dad, this is Ms. Jennifer. She helped me." Tony stared at Jennifer in her wedding dress. She hadn't had time to change, in confusion. "Good morning, Mr. Tony. May I come in? I need to talk to you." "I don't know if that's a good idea. The house is a mess and Dad, please," Mikey interrupted. "This is important." They entered the simple home. Clothes were scattered, empty bottles littered the floor, and a musty smell hung heavy in the air. Jennifer sat on a plastic chair and looked straight at Tony. "Mr. Tony, I need you to listen to me. Your son saved my life yesterday." "What do you mean?" "I was in the worst situation of my life, and Mikey showed up to help me. He gave me shelter, told me the truth about important things, and made me realize I wasn't alone in this world." Tony looked at his son with a mix of surprise and confusion. "Mikey did that." "He did. And do you know why he hasn't been home these past few days? Because he's trying to protect you and himself from a situation that's hurting both of you." "I don't understand." Jennifer took a deep breath. "Mr. Tony, you're drinking because your wife is sick, right?" "Yeah, it's just so hard seeing her in that hospital, knowing I can't do anything. But you can. You can stop drinking and fight for your family. Mikey needs his father, and your wife needs her husband." Tony lowered his head, and Jennifer saw tears streaming down his face. I feel so useless. I can't pay for her surgery. I lost my job. I'm a failure." "You're not a failure. You're a man going through a tough time, but tough times pass when we face them head-on." Mikey stepped closer to his father and held his hand. "Dad, Ms. Jennifer is going to help us, but you need to stop drinking, for me and for Mom." "How are you going to help me?" Jennifer looked at them both. "First, we'll visit your wife at the hospital. Then I'll see what I can do about the surgery. And you'll look for work again. Sober. But why would you do this for us?" "Because Mikey taught me that sometimes family isn't just who we're born with. Sometimes it's who we choose to have by our side." Dear listener, if you're enjoying the story, please like and subscribe to the channel. It helps us a lot as we're just starting out. Now back to the story. At the hospital, Jennifer met Sarah, Mikey's mother. Even weakened by medication, it was clear she was a strong and caring woman. "Mikey, my boy, where have you been?" she whispered, holding her son's hand. "I was taking care of Miss Jennifer, Mom. She needed help." Sarah looked at Jennifer with tired but curious eyes. "Are you the woman in the white dress my son mentioned?" "Yes, Mrs. Sarah. Your son is an angel who appeared in my life when I needed it most. He's always been special. Even as a little boy, he always wanted to help everyone." Jennifer spoke with the attending doctor about Sarah's case. The surgery was indeed necessary and cost $40,000. It was a steep sum, but not impossible for someone in Jennifer's financial situation. "Doctor, I'd like to cover the cost of this surgery." "Excuse me? I'm a lawyer. I can afford it. I want to pay for her treatment." The doctor was surprised, but explained all the necessary procedures. While Jennifer handled the paperwork, Mikey stayed with his parents. It was the first time in months the family had been together with Tony sober. "Dad, Miss Jennifer is really kind. She's going to help Mom get better." "I don't understand why she'd do this," Tony said, still processing everything. "Because she has a good heart, just like Mom's." "Mikey," Sarah whispered, "are you sure this woman doesn't want anything in return?" "I'm sure, Mom. She just wants to help." When Jennifer returned, she brought good news. "Mrs. Sarah, the surgery is scheduled for next week. Everything's already paid for." "I can't accept this," Tony said. "We can't pay you back." "No one's asking you to. Sometimes in life we receive help, and sometimes we give it. Today it's my turn to give." "But why?" Jennifer looked at Mikey. "Because your son helped me when I was at my lowest. He gave me shelter, told me the truth, and reminded me that there's still kindness in this world." Sarah began to cry. Oh my God. After so much suffering. The suffering is coming to an end, Mrs. Sarah, but now you all need to be a family again, and that includes Mr. Tony stopping drinking for good. I promise, said Tony, looking at his wife. I swear I'll change. And I'll help, said Jennifer. I know a support group that can help you. I'll also see if I can find you a job. Over the next few days, Jennifer focused on two goals: helping Mikey's family and uncovering the whole truth about Richard and Vanessa's betrayal. With Mikey's photos and her own investigations, Jennifer discovered the betrayal was even more elaborate than she'd imagined. Richard had opened a joint account with Vanessa 3 months before the wedding, and they had been planning to move to Europe with the money they intended to steal from Jennifer. But there was more. Vanessa was pregnant. The discovery came through Mrs. Williams, the principal of the school Mikey attended, who was the aunt of a nurse at the health clinic. The nurse mentioned she saw your sister last week. She was getting prenatal exams, Mrs. Williams said. Pregnant? Jennifer felt the world spin. From what the nurse understood, she's 2 months along. Jennifer did the math. Vanessa had gotten pregnant exactly when the secret meetings with Richard began. This revelation changed everything. It wasn't just an affair or a financial scam. It was a plan to completely destroy Jennifer's life and start a new family with her money. That night, Jennifer was at the hotel organizing all the documents and evidence when Mikey came running in. Miss Jennifer, they're back. What do you mean? Your sister and Richard. Mrs. Williams saw them at the bus station. Looks like something went wrong. Jennifer rushed to the window. From the hotel room, she could see the bus terminal downtown. Mikey, are you sure? Yes, Mrs. Williams called the school looking for you. She said they were arguing loudly at the station. Jennifer grabbed the documents and evidence. Let's go. Now? Now! It's time to face the truth. When they arrived at the bus station, Jennifer saw Richard and Vanessa sitting at a diner in the terminal. They were indeed arguing, and both looked worn out. Jennifer took a deep breath and walked toward them, with Mikey by her side. Hi, Vanessa. Hi, Richard. They turned at the same time, their faces shocked. Jennifer? Vanessa stammered. What are you doing here? Finding out the truth about the two of you. Richard tried to stand, but Jennifer stopped him. Sit down, Richard. We're going to talk right here, right now. Jennifer, let me explain, Vanessa began. Explain what? That you've been meeting for months. That you're pregnant with his child. That you plan to steal from me and run off to Europe. Vanessa paled. How did you... I have proof of everything. Photos, dates, conversations. Jennifer showed Mikey's phone. And I also know your plan failed because you came back by bus instead of flying to Miami. Richard finally spoke. Jennifer, things aren't what they seem. Oh, they're not. Then explain what they are. Explain why you tried to change our marriage's financial agreement. Explain why you withdrew $20,000 from the account. Explain why you abandoned our ceremony to run off with my pregnant sister. The silence was heavy. Other passengers at the station began to stare. Let's move somewhere more private, Jennifer suggested. That table over in the corner. They moved to a more secluded table. Mikey stayed a little distant, but still within sight. Now talk, said Jennifer, crossing her arms. Vanessa started crying. Jennifer, I fell in love with him. It wasn't planned. Wasn't planned? You've been seeing each other for 3 months. You got pregnant by him. How was that not planned? It was planned, Richard confessed, running his hand through his hair. Jennifer, I never really loved you. The cruel honesty of the confession hit Jennifer like a slap. Go on. I got close to you because you were financially stable. I was broke with gambling debts you can't even imagine. I thought marrying you would fix my life. And Vanessa came into my life when I was already with you. And then everything changed. Vanessa held Richard's arm. Jennifer, when we met, it was love at first sight, truly. We tried to resist, but you chose to betray me instead of being honest with me. Yes, Vanessa admitted. And when I found out I was pregnant, we had no choice. Of course you had a choice. You could have talked to me. You could have called off the wedding before humiliating me in front of 200 people. You're right, Richard said. We were cowards. But Jennifer, the money. I need to pay it back to some very dangerous people. That's why we plan to run away. What dangerous people? Loan sharks. I owe $200,000. They're threatening me. Jennifer looked at them, processing everything. And what went wrong with your plan? At the airport, when we showed our documents, we found out the tickets were fake, Vanessa explained. Richard bought them from a guy who scammed him. So you lost the money and couldn't travel? We lost everything. The $20,000 plus what Vanessa had saved. Now we have nothing, a baby on the way, and loan sharks after Richard. Jennifer stayed silent for a few minutes, gathering her thoughts. Vanessa, how far along are you? 2.5 months. And do you really love each other, or was it just convenience? Richard and Vanessa exchanged glances. We do love each other, Vanessa said. Even with all this mess, we love each other. And you, Richard? Even with this debt, even after lying to me for 2 years, do you want to stay with her? I do. I know I don't deserve forgiveness, but I want to build a family with Vanessa. Jennifer looked at Mikey, who was watching from a distance. She thought of his family, the challenges they were facing, how the boy had handled far worse situations than this. I'll make you an offer, Jennifer finally said. What offer? Vanessa asked. First, Richard, you'll pay me back the $20,000. Not now, but you'll work to repay me, even if it takes years. I accept. Second, you'll get married, for real. A simple ceremony, but official. What do you mean? Vanessa asked, confused. This child needs a stable family, and you need to take responsibility for your actions. And you? I'll help you, but with conditions. What conditions? Jennifer thought of Mikey, his family, everything she'd learned these past few days. Richard, you'll work at my office, as an intern, earning minimum wage. You'll learn to be a decent person while paying me back. I accept. Vanessa, you'll take a vocational course. You'll learn a skill and help support your family without depending on anyone. But Jennifer, why would you do this for us, after everything? Jennifer looked at Mikey again. Because these past few days I've learned that family isn't just who you're born with, and I've learned everyone deserves a second chance, especially when a child is involved. And you? Richard asked. What's going to happen to you? I'm going to rebuild my life. I'll find someone who truly loves me, and I'll take care of people who really need my help. Like that boy over there? Vanessa pointed at Mikey. Like him. And his family. People who deserve a chance in life. Richard lowered his head. Jennifer, I know I don't deserve it, but thank you. Don't thank me yet. You all have a lot of work ahead, and if you mess up again, I won't give you a third chance. Understood? And Richard, about the loan sharks, and we'll handle that too. How? I'll hire a lawyer who specializes in cases like yours. We'll renegotiate that debt legally and safely, but you'll pay it back even if it's in small installments for the rest of your life. You'd really do that? I would. Not for you, but for Vanessa and the baby on the way. 3 months later, Jennifer was at the hospital, supporting Sarah through her surgery. Mikey stood beside her, wearing his new uniform from the private school where she'd secured him a scholarship. Miss Jennifer, do you think my mom will be okay? She will, Mikey. The doctor said the surgery is going perfectly. Tony appeared in the hallway, carrying coffee for everyone. He'd been sober for 3 months and had gotten a job at a construction company Jennifer knew. The nurse said it'll be another 2 hours, he informed them. Dad, are you feeling hopeful? Mikey asked. I am, son. Very hopeful. Jennifer smiled, looking at the reunited family. Over the past few months, she'd witnessed their transformation firsthand. Tony had stopped drinking completely and was dedicated to his work. Mikey was doing better in school and had discovered a special talent for math. And Sarah, even before the surgery, had been happier just having her family together again. Ms. Jennifer, Mikey said, have you talked to your sister this week? Yes, she's doing well. The baby is growing healthy, and she's almost finished her administrative assistant course. And Richard? He's fine too, working hard at the office and learning a lot. He's already paid me back $5,000 of the $20,000 he owes. You don't regret helping them, do you? Jennifer thought about the question. No, Mikey, I don't. I've learned that holding on to anger only hurts yourself. It's better to fix things and move forward. And don't you miss having someone? Sometimes. But I've also learned it's better to be alone than with the wrong person. Besides, I'm not alone. I have you all. Tony stepped closer. Ms. Jennifer, I want to say something to you. Go ahead, Mr. Tony. You saved my family, not just financially, but in every way. You gave me back my son, you're giving me back my wife, and you gave me back my will to live. It was Mikey who saved me, Mr. Tony. He came into my life when I needed it most. It's funny how things work out, huh? Mikey said. If you hadn't been abandoned that day, we never would have met. That's true. Sometimes what seems like the worst thing that could happen turns out to be the start of something much better. Just then, the doctor appeared in the hallway with a smile. Family Rodriguez? That's us, Tony said, standing quickly. The surgery was a complete success. Mrs. Sarah is doing well and can have visitors in a few hours. Mikey hugged Jennifer tightly. Thank you, Ms. Jennifer. Thank you for everything. Thank you, Mikey, for teaching me that real family is the one you choose to have by your side. 6 months later, Jennifer was in her living room, which had become much livelier. Mikey came over every afternoon to do homework. Sarah, fully recovered, cooked for everyone twice a week, and Tony always showed up on weekends to help with small repairs. Ms. Jennifer, said Mikey, looking up from his math book, you got a letter. Jennifer picked up the envelope. It was from Vanessa. Jennifer, the baby was born yesterday. It's a girl. We named her Hope Jennifer Thompson in your honor. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, but I want you to know that you taught us what true love is, the kind that forgives, that helps, and never gives up on people. Richard is working hard and has already saved half the money he owes you. We got married last month in a simple ceremony, and we're so happy. I know one day you'll find someone who deserves your incredible heart. With all my love and gratitude, Vanessa. Jennifer smiled as she read the letter. Good news? Mikey asked. Very good news. Your goddaughter was born. My goddaughter? Yes, Vanessa's daughter. She gave her your middle name. Really? Mikey's eyes lit up. Really? Hope Jennifer Thompson. That's a beautiful name. It is. And do you know why she chose that name? Why? Because you represent hope, Mikey. For me, for your family, and now for this baby too. Just then, Sarah arrived carrying a tray of cake. Good afternoon, my dears. Good afternoon, Mrs. Sarah, Jennifer replied. You came at the perfect time. We have news to celebrate. What news? Ms. Jennifer's sister had her baby, Mikey explained, and she gave the baby my name. How wonderful, Sarah began slicing the cake. And how is she doing? Good, really good. The whole family is rebuilding their lives. Just like us, said Mikey. Just like us, Jennifer confirmed. Tony arrived shortly after, bringing flowers from the garden he'd planted at their house. For the most important women in my life, he said, handing the flowers to Sarah and Jennifer. Mr. Tony, you're getting quite romantic, Jennifer teased. Well, when you almost lose everything, you learn to cherish every moment. They all sat together at the kitchen table, eating cake and talking about their plans for the future. Mikey wanted to be a lawyer like Jennifer. Sarah was thinking about taking a cooking class. Tony dreamed of starting his own small construction business. And you, Ms. Jennifer? Mikey asked. What's your dream now? Jennifer looked around the table at the people who had become her true family. My dream is to keep going exactly like this, with you, helping those in need, being truly happy. You don't want to get married again? If the right person comes along, yes. But I'm not looking, I'm living. And when something's meant to be, it happens naturally. Like it did with us, Sarah said. Exactly like it did with you. A year later, Jennifer was on a road again, but this time it was a smooth asphalt road, and she was inside a comfortable car driven by Dr. Daniel Wilson, a veterinarian she'd met through a case involving abandoned animals. So where are we headed again? Daniel asked. To Mikey's graduation. He finished middle school with the highest grades in his class. And after, we're going home to celebrate. Sarah prepared a party. Your family is really special, Daniel said. They are. They're the ones who taught me what truly matters in life. And what truly matters? Jennifer looked out the window, watching the beautiful countryside pass by. What matters is being with those who truly love you. What matters is helping those in need. What matters is forgiving when it's necessary. And what matters is never giving up on believing good things can happen. Even after everything you've been through, especially after everything I've been through, if I hadn't been abandoned on that road, I never would have met Mikey. I never would have discovered what a real family is. I never would have learned to forgive. And I never would have met you. Daniel smiled and took Jennifer's hand. Sometimes what feels like the end is just the beginning of something much better. Exactly. When they arrived at the school, Mikey was waiting at the door, wearing his graduation outfit and a huge smile on his face. "Miss Jennifer," Dr. Daniel. "You made it." "We did, champ," said Jennifer, hugging the boy who was now taller than her. "I'm nervous," Mikey admitted. "Why?" "Because I have to give a speech representing our class." "And what will you talk about?" "About second chances, about how special people come into our lives when we least expect it, and about how real family is the one we choose to have by our side." Jennifer felt her eyes fill with tears. "It'll be perfect, Mikey." "You think so?" "I'm sure, because you'll speak from the heart. And when we speak from the heart, the words always come out right." During the ceremony, Jennifer looked around and saw Sarah and Tony in the front row, beaming with pride. She saw Vanessa with Richard and little Hope in her arms. She saw Daniel beside her, holding her hand, and she saw Mikey on stage, speaking eloquently about overcoming hardships, family and love. "I want to dedicate this achievement to a very special person," Mikey said at the end of his speech. "Someone who came into my life when I needed it most, and who taught me that it doesn't matter where you come from. It matters where you're going. Ms. Jennifer, thank you for teaching me that life always gives us a second chance when we're willing to start over." The entire auditorium rose in applause. Jennifer cried with emotion, knowing this moment was proof that all her choices had been worth it. After the ceremony, everyone gathered at Jennifer's house for the celebration. It was a home full of laughter, stories, and true love. "Miss Jennifer," Mikey said, approaching her in the garden where she was talking with Daniel. "Can I tell you something?" "Of course, Mikey. Do you remember that day on the road when we first met?" "How could I forget?" "I want you to know that was the best day of my life." "Why?" "Because that was the day I got a mom." Jennifer hugged Mikey tightly, her heart overflowing with happiness. "And I got a son, the best son I could have asked for." "And now, am I getting a dad too?" Mikey asked, looking at Daniel. Daniel laughed. "If your mom agrees to marry me, then yes." Jennifer looked at Daniel in surprise. "Daniel, what are you saying?" "I'm saying I want to be part of this amazing family." Daniel knelt in the garden and pulled a ring from his pocket. "Jennifer, will you marry me?" The whole party stopped to watch the proposal. Sarah, Tony, Vanessa, Richard, and all their friends stood in silence, waiting for her answer. Jennifer looked around, seeing all the people she loved gathered in this perfect moment. "Yes," she said, smiling through her tears. "Yes, I'll be part of an even bigger family." Everyone cheered and celebrated. Mikey was the first to hug them. "Now, our family is complete," he said. "It is," Jennifer agreed. "And you know the best part?" "What?" "That it all started on that dusty road when two strangers met at the worst moment of their lives. And look what it became." "It's true." "Do you think if it hadn't happened that way, it wouldn't have happened at all? Sometimes life has to knock us down to teach us how to get back up the right way. And are you happy?" Jennifer looked around once more. She saw Daniel chatting excitedly with Tony about plans to expand the house. She saw Sarah teaching Vanessa how to make a special dessert. She saw Richard playing with little Hope, and she saw Mikey, the son of her heart, smiling like she'd never seen before. "I'm happier than I ever thought possible, Mikey." Then was it worth being left on that road? Every tear, every moment of pain, every sleepless night was worth it, because it all brought me here, to all of you. That night, after everyone had left, Jennifer stayed in the garden with Daniel and Mikey, gazing at the stars. "Dr. Daniel," said Mikey, Will you take good care of my mum? I'll care for her the way she deserves to be cared for, and you'll help me, won't you? Of course. We're a team now. We're a family, Jennifer corrected. A family that chose to be together. And that will stay together forever, Daniel added. Forever, Mikey agreed. Jennifer smiled, knowing she had finally found her place in the world. It wasn't at the altar of a church, nor in a perfect life plan down to the smallest detail. It was right there, in that simple garden, with the people who truly mattered by her side. 3 years later, Jennifer was on the road again, but this time it was a different road. She was driving a van full of children from the social project she had created with Daniel. The project was called Second Chance, and it helped struggling families in the area. "Aunt Jennifer," said one of the kids in the back, "where are we going today?" "We're visiting some children at the hospital. Did you all bring the drawings you made?" "We did," several voices chimed at once. Mikey, now 16 and a volunteer for the project, sat in the front seat helping Jennifer. "Mum, did you see 5 more families asked for help this week?" "I did, and we'll help every one of them." "Like we always do. Like we always do." The project had grown tremendously over the years. It started by helping only Mikey's family, but now served over 50 families in the area. Daniel used his veterinary skills to teach families how to raise small animals for sustenance. Jennifer offered free legal guidance, and Mikey, though still a teenager, had become a mentor to the younger children. "Mom, can I ask you something?" "Of course, son." "Do you ever regret giving up that rich life you had before?" Jennifer thought about the question as she drove. "Never, Mikey, not for a second. That life was empty. I had money, but no purpose. A big house, but no family. A fiancé, but no love. And now? Now I have everything that truly matters. I have you, I have Daniel, I have Mrs. Sarah and old Tony. I have all these children we help, I have a purpose. What about Vanessa? Vanessa too. She's become a wonderful mother and a much better person. And Richard is almost done repaying me. They're happy. It's funny how everything worked out in the end. It is. But do you know why it worked out? Why? Because we stopped forcing things to go our way and let life show us the right path. When they arrived at the hospital, the children rushed in to deliver the drawings and gifts they had made. Jennifer watched the joy on the faces of the hospitalized children and remembered how it all began. "Mom," Mikey said, stepping closer to her, "there's something I never told you." "What is it?" "That day we met, when I was behind the church." "Yes?" "I wasn't there by chance. I had run away from home after a bad fight with my dad. I was thinking about doing something stupid." Jennifer's heart clenched. "What kind of stupid thing?" "Giving up. On myself, my family, life." "Mikey." "But then I saw you on that road, crying, lost. And I thought, if a grown woman, rich and beautiful, could be going through problems, maybe mine weren't the end of the world." Jennifer hugged her son. "So we saved each other that day." "We did, and we keep saving each other every day." "That's true. Every day I learn something new from you. And I from you." Just then, Daniel arrived at the hospital straight from his veterinary clinic. "How are my 2 favorite people?" "We're doing well," replied Jennifer, giving her husband a kiss. "The kids are loving the visit. And have you thought about what we'll do for vacation?" "Let's go to the beach," said Mikey excitedly. "Yes, we will. But this time, we're taking some of the families from the project." Jennifer had planned a special trip to reward the families who had worked hardest to improve their lives. "Your wife is amazing," Daniel said to Mikey. "I know," Mikey replied. "She taught me that being amazing isn't about having a perfect life. It's about turning problems into opportunities to grow. And you taught me that true wealth isn't in what we have, but in what we're able to give," Jennifer said. They stood embraced, watching the children play, each reflecting on the journey that had brought them there. "Do you know what I want to be when I grow up?" Mikey asked. "Law, right?" Daniel replied. "Not just law. I want to be a lawyer, but I also want to work with street kids. I want to create more projects like ours." "That's a wonderful idea," Jennifer said. "And I want to call the project Roadside Encounters." "Why?" Daniel asked. Because it was on a road that my mom and I found each other, and that encounter changed the lives of everyone around us today. Jennifer smiled, her heart full of pride and gratitude. You know, Mikey, I think you're right. Life is full of chance encounters that aren't really chance. They're meetings that were meant to happen. Like ours? Like ours. Like mine with Daniel. Like Vanessa's with Richard. Like all of ours with the families we've helped. It's like every person who comes into our life is a piece of a giant puzzle. Exactly. And when all the pieces fit, we get to see the whole picture. And what's the whole picture of our family? Jennifer looked around, seeing Daniel gathering the kids for the next activity, seeing the families they'd helped now helping others, seeing the cycle of love and solidarity they'd created. The whole picture is love, Mikey. Real love, unconditional love, love that transforms, love that heals, love that forgives, love that never gives up. Even when it feels like all is lost? Especially when it feels like all is lost. That's exactly when I found you. 5 years later, Jennifer stood on the same road where it had all begun. But now the road was paved, and a new sign stood there. Michael Rodriguez Road, symbol of hope and new beginnings. The sign had been unveiled by the city in honor of the social work Mikey, now 21 and a law graduate, was doing in the area. Jennifer was there with the whole family for the inauguration of the new headquarters of Roadside Encounters, which had become a nationally recognized organization. I can't believe it all started here, Vanessa said, holding little Hope, now 5, in her arms. I can, Mikey said, wearing the suit Jennifer had given him as a graduation gift. Because this is where our family was truly born. Our family? Richard asked. Of course, you're part of it too. All of us are part of this huge family that's grown over the years. It was true. Besides Jennifer, Daniel, Mikey, Sarah, and Tony, the family had grown to include Vanessa, Richard, and Hope, plus all the families they'd helped, who now helped each other. Mikey, Jennifer said, are you nervous for your speech? A little, but it's a good kind of nervous, the kind you feel when you're fulfilled. And are you fulfilled? I am, Mom. Very fulfilled. I've achieved everything I ever dreamed of. A family that loves me, a career that brings me joy, and the opportunity to help others find what I found. And what did you find? Hope. I found hope when I thought there was none left. The mayor of the city approached. Dr. Michael, it's time for your speech. Mikey waved to his family and stepped onto the makeshift stage. My friends, he began, looking at the gathered crowd, today is a very special day. Not just because we're opening our new headquarters, but because we're celebrating something much greater, the power of human kindness. Jennifer felt her eyes fill with tears of pride. 10 years ago, on this very road, a broken woman found a lost boy. Neither of them knew that meeting would change not just their lives, but the lives of hundreds of others. The crowd listened in reverent silence. My mother Jennifer taught me that no matter how dark the night, dawn always comes. That no matter how lost we are, there's always a way. And that no matter how alone we feel, there's always someone willing to lend a hand. Daniel held Jennifer's hand. Today, our program serves over 300 families. We have partnerships with hospitals, schools, and businesses. We have volunteers in 5 different cities. But most importantly, we have a huge family of people who've learned that true happiness lies in helping others. Sarah, now with completely white hair but a radiant smile, clapped with emotion. That's why I want to dedicate this achievement to 2 very special people. First, to my mother Jennifer, who taught me that true love asks for nothing in return. And second, to my birth mother Sarah, who taught me that a family's strength lies in unity. Tony wrapped his arm around his wife's shoulders. But I also want to dedicate this to all of you here today, because each of you is living proof that it's worth believing in people, worth investing in good, and worth never giving up on our dreams. The crowd began to applaud. And to close, I want to read a phrase written on the wall of our new headquarters, one that sums up everything we've learned over the years. Sometimes, what feels like the end of our story is just the beginning of a far more beautiful chapter. The applause was deafening. Jennifer cried with emotion, knowing that the frightened boy she'd found on the road had become an extraordinary man. After the ceremony, the whole family gathered for a special lunch at Jennifer and Daniel's home. "Mom," said Hope, approaching Jennifer, "Uncle Mikey said you're the bravest person in the world." "He said that?" "Yes. Is it true?" Jennifer lifted the girl into her lap. "I don't know if I'm the bravest in the world, but I can tell you this. Courage isn't about not being afraid. Courage is being afraid and still doing what's right." "And were you scared when you met Uncle Mikey?" "I was terrified. I was in the worst situation of my life with no idea what to do." "But you helped him anyway." "I did. And do you know why?" "Why?" "Because when we're hurting, the best way to stop hurting is to help someone else who's hurting too." "I see. Is that why you help so many people?" "Exactly. And do you know the secret?" "What?" "The more we help, the happier we become." Mikey walked over. "Teaching life philosophy to our goddaughter?" "Teaching what life taught me," Jennifer replied. "And what else has life taught you, Mom?" Jennifer looked around the table at all her loved ones. "It taught me that family isn't just about blood. It taught me that true love is the love we choose to give. It taught me that forgiving frees the one who forgives more than the one who's forgiven. And it taught me that it's never too late to start over. And it taught me that the most important encounters in our lives happen when we least expect them," Mikey finished. "Like our meeting on that road." "Like our meeting on that road." Daniel raised his glass for a toast. "Then let's toast to unexpected encounters, second chances, and the families we choose to build." "Cheers," they all said together. Jennifer smiled, looking at each face around the table. Vanessa, who had become a devoted mother and a much wiser person. Richard, who had learned the value of honest work and true love. Sarah and Tony, who had rebuilt their family and were now doting grandparents. Daniel, who had become not just a wonderful husband, but the perfect adoptive father to Mikey. And Mikey, her heart's son, who had grown into an honest, generous, and determined man. "You know the best part of this whole story?" Jennifer asked. "What?" Hope replied. "It doesn't have an end. Every day is a chance to meet more people who need help, to form more families, to spread more love." "Like a chain of kindness?" the girl asked. "Exactly like a chain of kindness. And you are the most important links in that chain." That night, after everyone had left, Jennifer was in the garden with Daniel and Mikey, as they always did when they needed to talk about important things. "Mom," Mikey said, "I have a confession to make." "Go ahead, son." "Today, during the speech, when I looked at all those people gathered, I thought something." "What did you think?" "I thought that if you hadn't been abandoned on that road, none of this would have happened. Hundreds of families wouldn't have been helped. I wouldn't have gone to school. My parents wouldn't have reconciled. Vanessa and Richard wouldn't have learned to be better people. And then I thanked him. Deep in my heart, I thanked Richard for abandoning you." Jennifer and Daniel laughed. "Really?" "Really. Because if he hadn't done that, I would have never gotten the best mom in the world." "Mikey, you always know how to make me cry," Jennifer said, hugging her son. "It's because I love you so much, Mom. And because I want you to know your life didn't start when you married Dr. Daniel, or when you graduated from law school, or when you started working. When did it start then? It started on that road when you decided to trust a strange boy and let him help you. That's when you were truly born. And you? When were you born?" "I was born the first time you looked at me and treated me like I mattered, like I was worth something." Daniel joined the hug. "And I was born when I met the two of you and understood what a real family is." "So we were all born on that road," Jennifer said. "We all were," Daniel and Mikey agreed. Jennifer looked up at the stars, feeling a deep peace in her heart. It had taken her over 30 years to discover her purpose in life, but now she knew it was to love, to help, to make a difference in people's lives. And it had all started on a dusty road, with a dirty wedding dress and a brave boy who wasn't afraid to approach a stranger in despair. 10 years later, Jennifer was on a road again. But this time it was a different road, in a different city, under completely different circumstances. She had been invited to give a lecture on social work at a university in New York. Mikey, now the national coordinator of the Roadside Encounters project, was beside her in the car. "Nervous, Mom?" "A little. It's been a long time since I've spoken to such a big audience." It'll be fine, you just have to tell our story. Our story got pretty big, didn't it? It did, but the heart of it is still the same. Two lost people who found each other and decided to help other lost people find their way too. When they arrived at the university, Jennifer was amazed by the size of the auditorium. Over 1,000 people were waiting to hear her. "Good afternoon," she began from the stage. "My name is Jennifer Hayes Thompson, and this is the story of how one of the worst days of my life became the beginning of the best part of my life." For an hour and a half, Jennifer recounted every detail: being left at the altar, meeting Mikey, discovering the betrayal, deciding to help his family, forgiving her siblings, marrying Daniel, and founding the social project. "What I want you to understand," she said at the end, "is that we will all face difficult moments in life. Moments when we'll think everything is over, that it's no longer worth fighting for." The auditorium was completely silent, but it's exactly in those moments that the most incredible opportunities appear. When we're at our most vulnerable, we're able to form the deepest connections with others. A student raised her hand. "Professor Jennifer, do you regret forgiving your sister and your ex-fiancé?" "Never. Forgiving them set me free. If I had clung to resentment, I would never have found true happiness. But wasn't it hard?" "It was very hard. But you know what was even harder? Forgiving myself for being so blind, for not seeing the signs of betrayal." Another student asked, "What about Mikey? Is he here?" Jennifer gestured to Mikey, who was sitting in the front row. "Yes, he is. Mikey, do you want to say something?" Mikey stepped onto the stage. "Everyone, I just want to say one thing. My mom's story is true, every word. And I want you to know that if she hadn't decided to trust a street kid that day, I probably wouldn't be here today." "Why?" a student asked. "Because I was ready to give up on life. I was desperate, hopeless. But when I saw a grown, successful woman crying on the roadside, I realized everyone goes through struggles, and that gave me the strength to keep fighting. And now? Now I run an organization that helps over 1,000 families across the country. I'm married, have 2 kids, and wake up every day grateful to be alive." "Married?" Jennifer looked at Mikey in surprise. "Mum, I was going to tell you after the talk," Mikey said, laughing. "I proposed to Emma yesterday." "Mikey," Jennifer hugged her son, overcome with emotion. "And there's more," Mikey continued. "We're having a baby." Jennifer burst into tears of joy on stage in front of 1,000 people. "Everyone," she said, addressing the audience, "I've just been given the best news of my life. I'm going to be a grandmother." The entire auditorium cheered and celebrated with her. "See," Jennifer said, still emotional, "life never stops surprising us. Just when we think we've been as happy as we can be, another reason to celebrate comes along." After the talk, Jennifer and Mikey walked across the university campus. "Son, why didn't you tell me sooner?" "I wanted it to be a surprise, and I wanted to tell you on a special occasion." "And today was special?" "Very special. Today I saw my mum being recognized by hundreds of people as the incredible woman she is. Mikey, you still move me to tears. And you still inspire me, Mum." They stopped at a bench under a tree. "You know what moves me most about our story?" Jennifer asked. "What?" "That it keeps multiplying. Now you're going to be a father, teaching your kids the values we learned together, and they'll pass them on to their children. Like a family tree of goodness." "Exactly. And to think it all started on a dusty road, with a desperate bride and a scared boy, who turned into a huge family full of love." Mikey checked his phone. "Mum, Emma wants to know if you'll be the matron of honor at the wedding." "Of course I will. When is it?" 6 months from now. We want a simple ceremony just with family." "And how many people is family now?" Mikey laughed. "About 50, counting all the folks we've adopted over the years." "Perfect. It'll be the most beautiful celebration in the world." 6 months later, Jennifer was in a party dress again, but this time as Mikey's matron of honor. The ceremony took place in the church where it had all begun, now renovated and lovely. Emma, the bride, was a psychologist who had met Mikey during a volunteer project. She was a kind, intelligent woman who loved Mikey as much as Jennifer did. "Ms. Jennifer," Emma said before the ceremony, I want you to know I consider it an honor to be part of this family. Emma, my dear, the honor is ours. You make Mikey so happy, and he makes me happy too. You raised a wonderful man. We raised each other. That's the beauty of our family. During the ceremony, Jennifer looked around and saw familiar faces in every pew, families who had been helped by the project and were now thriving, children who had grown into responsible young adults, couples who had met through volunteer work. Dearly beloved, the priest began, then quickly corrected himself. Sorry, dear families, we are gathered here to celebrate the love between Mikey and Emma. Jennifer smiled. The priest had also been moved by their family's story and always made sure to say families in the plural, recognizing that this was far more than a traditional family. The love we see here today isn't just between a man and a woman, the priest continued. It's love that multiplies, that spreads, that transforms entire communities. Daniel held Jennifer's hand. They had been married 8 years and were still as in love as the first day. Are you happy? He whispered. Overflowing with happiness, Jennifer whispered back. When Mikey and Emma kissed to seal their union, the entire church erupted in applause and joyful tears. Now, we're officially family, Mikey shouted, raising his fist in the air. The reception was held in the church hall, decorated with simple but beautiful flowers. During the celebration, Jennifer was called to give a speech. Everyone, she began, 15 years ago, I was in this same church, but in a completely different situation. I was being left at the altar by the man I thought I loved. Some guests who didn't know the story looked surprised. If someone had told me that day that 15 years later I'd be here celebrating my son's wedding, I'd have thought they were crazy. But here we are, Mikey called from across the room. Here we are. And you know why? Because life has far better plans for us than we could ever imagine. Amen, shouted Sarah, now 70 but still full of energy. So my advice to you, especially the younger ones, is never give up. Never think all is lost. There's always a way, always an opportunity, always someone willing to help. And always someone who needs our help, Emma added. Exactly, my dear. And it's by helping others that we find our own happiness. Tony, now sober for over 10 years and owner of a small construction company, raised his glass. I'd like to toast the woman who saved my family and taught me it's never too late to start over. And I'd like to toast the brave boy who wasn't afraid to approach a stranger on a road, Jennifer replied. And I'd like to toast all of us who've proven that family isn't just who you're born with, but who you choose to stay with, Daniel said. Cheers, everyone shouted together. 3 years later, Jennifer was in the hospital, cradling her first grandchild in her arms. Ethan Michael Thompson, just 2 days old, slept peacefully in her arms. He looks just like his father, said Emma, still recovering from childbirth. He does, agreed Jennifer. He has the same serene little face. Mom, said Mikey, would you and Dr. Daniel agree to be his godparents? Of course we would. It would be an honor. Daniel walked into the room carrying flowers. How's our newest family member? Perfect, replied Jennifer. Daniel, come meet your grandson. Daniel carefully took the baby. Hi, Ethan, I'm your grandpa Daniel, and this is your grandma Jennifer, the bravest woman in the world. Stop that, said Jennifer, laughing. It's true, Mom, said Mikey. Ethan will grow up hearing stories about how his grandma changed hundreds of lives. And he'll grow up knowing he can change lives too, said Emma. Jennifer looked at her little grandson and felt a wave of unconditional love. Ethan, when you grow up, you'll discover you were born into a very special family, a family that began when 2 lost people met on a dusty road. And he'll learn he has a mission in life, said Mikey. What mission? Asked Daniel. The mission to keep spreading love and kindness in the world, like we all do. Sarah and Tony arrived just then, breathless from running through the hospital halls. Where's my great-grandson? Asked Sarah. Jennifer handed her the baby. Here he is, Mrs. Sarah. Your great-grandson, Ethan. Oh my, what a beautiful thing, said Sarah, starting to cry. Tony, look at this perfection. Tony stepped closer, his eyes brimming with tears. He's the continuation of our family, isn't he? Yes, said Jennifer. The continuation of a love story that started on a road and has no end. A year later, Jennifer was organizing Ethan's first birthday party when she got an unexpected call. "Jennifer, it's Vanessa." "Hi, Van. How are you?" "I'm good. Actually, I'm great. I have some news to share." "What news?" "Hope is going to have a little brother." "Vanessa, that's wonderful. Congratulations." "Thanks, Jen. And guess what? Richard got promoted at work. He's now a senior accountant at the company." "That's fantastic. I'm so happy for you both." "Jen, can I tell you something?" "Of course." "I never properly thanked you for what you did for us. You gave us a second chance when we didn't deserve it." "Van, that was so long ago." "I know, but it's important to me. You taught us what true love is. And now that I'm having another baby, I want him to grow up knowing he has an aunt who's the most generous person in the world." Jennifer smiled. "Aunt? You want me to be the baby's aunt?" "Of course. You're my sister. Always have been, always will be." "Then I'll gladly be his aunt." At Ethan's party, the whole family was gathered. It was amazing to see how the group had grown. Beyond the original families, there were dozens of people who considered themselves part of this big extended family. "Everyone," said Mikey, calling for attention, "before we sing Happy Birthday to Ethan, I want to share something with you." Everyone stopped to listen. "This morning I got a call from the National University of Washington. They want to create an extension course based on our work." "Really?" asked Jennifer. "Really. The course will be called Transformative Social Assistance and will teach the methodology we've developed over the years." "That's incredible, son. And there's more. They want you to be the course coordinator, Mum." Jennifer was speechless. "Me? But I don't have a formal academic background in social work." "But you have something far more valuable, real experience and proven results." Daniel hugged Jennifer. "Sweetheart, it's an amazing opportunity. But that would mean moving to Washington, D.C. "Not necessarily," said Mikey. "The course would be hybrid. You'd spend 2 weeks a month there and 2 weeks here." "And we could move too," said Daniel. "My work as a veterinarian can be done anywhere." "You'd really do that?" "Of course," said Michael. "Our family goes wherever we're needed. And besides," added Emma, "it would be good for Ethan to grow up seeing his grandmother recognized nationally for her social work." Jennifer looked around at all the expectant faces. "Then I accept. And let's make this another way to help even more people." Everyone cheered and celebrated. "Now we can finally sing Happy Birthday to Ethan," said Sarah. As everyone sang to the baby, Jennifer reflected on how her life had transformed. From a woman abandoned on the side of the road to a university coordinator, from a lonely soul to the heart of a big, loving family. "What are you thinking about?" asked Daniel. "I'm thinking life is full of surprises. Good surprises, the best surprises. Who would have thought being left at the altar would be the best thing that ever happened to me? Life has a funny way of putting us on the right path. It does. And the strangest part is, at the time, it feels like the wrong one." Ethan drooled on Jennifer's dress, making her laugh. "Look, Ethan's saying he agrees with us. He's just like his father," said Daniel. "Smart and affectionate. And he'll grow up in a family full of love like every child deserves." 2 years later, Jennifer was in Washington, D.C., teaching her first class in the new program. The room was filled with social workers, psychologists, educators, and volunteers from NGOs across the country. "Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the course Transformative Social Assistance. My name is Jennifer Hayes Thompson, and I'll share everything I've learned from 15 years of working with vulnerable families." A student raised her hand. "Professor, is it true you started in social work after being left at the altar?" Jennifer smiled. "It's true, and today I'll tell you how one of the worst days of my life became the start of the best chapter." For 4 hours, Jennifer shared her story, explained the methodology they developed, and taught practical family support techniques. "What you need to understand," she said, "is that social assistance isn't just about handouts or food baskets. It's helping people discover their own strength to change their lives." A student asked, "But how do you do that in practice?" "First, by listening, truly listening, letting people tell their stories without judgment. Second, identifying the strengths within each family. Third, connecting those strengths to real opportunities." "Can you give an example?" "Of course. My son, Mikey, was a street kid when we met, but he had exceptional intelligence and incredible observation skills. Instead of just giving him food and shelter, we invested in his education. Now he leads a national project. What about his parents? His father was an alcoholic and unemployed. His mother needed surgery. Instead of just criticizing the drinking, we understood it was his way of coping with despair. We treated the cause, not just the symptom. Now he owns his own business and has been sober for over 15 years. A more experienced social worker commented, "But that takes so much time and resources." It does. But do you know how much it costs to keep a family on welfare for years? Or the price of urban violence born from hopelessness, or a child dropping out of school? The room fell silent. Investing in family transformation is far cheaper and more effective than fixing problems after they explode. At the end of class, a young student approached. "Professor, can I ask you a personal question?" "Of course." "Don't you ever feel frustrated when some families just can't change?" Jennifer thought about the question. "You know, not every seed we plant will grow, but that doesn't mean we should stop planting. Every family we help ends up transforming others. It's a ripple effect." "And when you feel discouraged?" "When I feel discouraged, I think about Ethan, my grandson. I think about the kind of world I want to leave for him, and that gives me the strength to keep going." That night, Jennifer called home. "Hi, love. How was your first day?" asked Daniel. "It was amazing. The students are so dedicated and eager to learn." "And how did you feel teaching?" "I felt fulfilled. It's like all those years of hands-on work finally found a way to multiply. That's wonderful, love. I'm so proud of you. So how are things there?" "Everything's fine. Mikey stopped by with Ethan today. He's starting to talk already." "Already? What did he say?" "Grandma." His first word was grandma. Jennifer started crying. "Really?" "Really. Emma filmed it. I'll send you the video." "Daniel, I love you so much. I love all of you so much. And we love you too. Now get some rest. You've got more students to inspire tomorrow." 5 years later, the course Jennifer coordinated had become a master's program recognized by the Department of Education. Hundreds of professionals had graduated using the methodology she and Michael developed. Ethan, now 7, often joined his grandmother in project activities. "Grandma," he said during a visit to a struggling family, "why doesn't that kid have any toys?" "Because their family is going through a tough time, Ethan. But you know what we can do?" "What?" "We can help them find ways to improve their lives, and you can play with the kids while we do." "Can I give them some of my toys?" Jennifer smiled. "Of course. But the most important thing is playing with them, being their friend." "Why?" "Because sometimes what people need most isn't things. It's kindness, attention, someone who cares about them." Ethan spent the afternoon playing with the children. On their way home, he was deep in thought. "Grandma, I want to do the same work as you when I grow up." "You really do?" "Yeah. I want to help families like you do." "That's wonderful, Ethan. The world always needs people willing to help others. And I'll be really good at it because you'll teach me." "I will. And so will your dad. And your mom. We'll all teach you." That evening, Jennifer talked with Michael about the future. "Son, do you think we're on the right path?" "Mom, when I hear Ethan talking about helping others at just 7 years old, I know we are. It's amazing how values pass down so naturally." "Yeah, he's growing up seeing that helping others is normal, just part of life. And hope, too. Vanessa told me she's always setting aside clothes and toys to donate. It's that ripple effect you always talk about. One good deed leads to another." "Michael, can I ask you something?" "Of course, Mom. Are you happy?" Michael smiled. "Mom, I'm happier than I ever thought possible. I have an amazing family, fulfilling work, good health, and purpose. What more could I want?" "Nothing. And you know what makes me happiest?" "What?" "Knowing you earned all of this yourself. I just gave you opportunities. You were the one who took them. Mom, without your opportunities, I wouldn't have gotten anywhere. And without your determination, those opportunities wouldn't have mattered. It's a partnership, huh? Always has been. Always has been and always will be." 10 years later, Jennifer was preparing for one of the most important speeches of her career. She had been invited to speak at the UN about innovative social assistance methodologies. "Nervous?" asked Daniel. "A little. It's a big responsibility to speak to representatives from so many countries." "You'll do great, as always." Mikey walked into the New York hotel room. "Mom, Ethan wants to talk to you." Ethan, now 17 and about to start college for social work, appeared on the tablet screen. "Hi, Grandma, how are you feeling?" "Hi, sweetheart. I'm fine, but a little nervous." "Grandma, remember what you always told me when I got nervous?" "What did I say?" "That nervousness is just disguised anxiety, and anxiety happens because we want everything to go right. And when we want everything to go right, it's because we truly care." Jennifer smiled. "You memorized it perfectly." "I memorized it because it's true. And Grandma, you care more about people than anyone else I know. That's why everything will work out." "Thank you, Ethan. You always know how to calm me down. That's what grandkids are for, right?" 2 hours later, Jennifer was on stage at the United Nations, looking out at an audience of over 500 people from around the world. "Ladies and gentlemen," she began in English, then corrected herself. "Sorry, I'll speak in Portuguese. It's what I'm most comfortable with. Simultaneous translation will help those who need it." A few people laughed, which helped break the ice. "My name is Jennifer Hayes Thompson. I'm from the United States, and today I'm going to tell you how a chance encounter on a dusty road changed the lives of thousands of people across multiple countries." For 2 hours, Jennifer presented data, statistics, and methodologies, always weaving in real emotional stories. "What we've learned in these 25 years of work," she said, "is that poverty is not destiny, it's circumstance. And circumstances can change when we give people the right tools." A representative from Africa asked, "But how do we adapt this methodology for different cultures?" "The methodology doesn't change. What changes are the specific tools, but the principles are universal. Listen without judgment, identify potential, and create real opportunities." A representative from Asia commented, "But this must be very expensive." Actually, it's far cheaper than dealing with the consequences of permanent poverty. Violence, disease, illiteracy, all of that costs the state much more than investing in transforming families. At the end of the presentation, Jennifer received a standing ovation that lasted 5 minutes. The UN Deputy Secretary General approached her. "Dr. Jennifer, we'd like to invite you to lead a pilot program we're implementing in 5 different countries next year." "It would be an honor," Jennifer replied. "And we'd like your team from the US to help with implementation." "Of course. I'm sure Michael will be thrilled." That night, Jennifer called home to share the news. "Love, I think we'll have to learn some new languages," she told Daniel. "Why?" "Because we'll be working in 5 different countries next year." "Really? Which ones?" "Canada, Kenya, the Philippines, Bangladesh, and Romania." "Wow, that's international recognition for your work." "It is. And you know what else?" "What?" "When I was on that stage today looking at all those people, I thought, if I hadn't been abandoned on that road 25 years ago, none of this would be happening." "How did that make you feel?" "Grateful. So grateful for that terrible experience that became the most transformative one of my life." 2 years later, Jennifer was on a dusty road in rural Kenya, accompanied by Michael and an international team. They were implementing the transformative social assistance program in a rural community. "Mum," Michael said, "do you see how history repeats itself?" "How so?" "Here we are, on a dusty road, helping people in need." Jennifer looked around. The scene really did look a lot like the one from 27 years ago. The difference was that now she wasn't alone, she had experience, and she knew exactly what to do. "You're right, son, but this time we're prepared. And this time we have an entire family supporting us." A Kenyan child approached Jennifer and said something in French. "What did she say?" Jennifer asked the interpreter. "She said you look like a kind grandmother." Jennifer smiled and knelt to meet the girl at eye level. "Comment tu t'appelles?" she asked in basic French. "Zainab," the girl replied. "Zainab, je suis Jennifer." The girl smiled and took Jennifer's hand. "Mom," said Mikey, "looks like you just gained another granddaughter." "Seems that way." During the 6 months they spent in Kenya, Jennifer and her team managed to transform the lives of 40 families. They set up production cooperatives, organized literacy groups, and partnered with local NGOs. But most importantly, they built lasting bonds. "Miss Jennifer," Zainab said on their last day, "vous reviendrez?" "Oui, ma chérie, je reviendrai," Jennifer replied, hugging the girl. On the plane back to the United States, Mikey asked, "Mom, do you think we made a difference?" "I know we did, but you know what makes me happiest?" "What?" "Knowing they now have the tools to keep making a difference on their own, and that the model can be replicated in other communities." Exactly. That's what moves me. Seeing an idea born on a little road in rural America now being used all over the world. 5 years later, Jennifer was celebrating her 70th birthday at a party organized by her whole family at home. People had come from everywhere: the United States, Kenya, Canada, the Philippines, Bangladesh, Romania. Ethan, now a social work graduate working with the family's project, gave a heartfelt speech. "Everyone, today we're not just celebrating Grandma Jennifer's 70 years, but also 32 years of social transformation. 32 years that started on a dusty road and led us here, to this house full of love." Everyone applauded. "Grandma always taught me that family isn't just who you're born with, but who you choose to stand with. And looking at all of you here today, from so many different countries, I see our family has grown far beyond anything any of us could have imagined." Jennifer was moved, seeing familiar and beloved faces from all over the world. "But what makes me proudest of Grandma," Ethan continued, "isn't just the international recognition or the awards she's won or the universities studying her work. What makes me proudest is that she's still the same person she was at 35 when she decided to trust a street kid on a road." Mikey stepped up beside his son. "Ethan, can I add something?" "Of course, Dad." "What moves me most about my mom is that she taught me it doesn't matter how many people you help or how much recognition you get. What matters is never forgetting where you came from and never stopping the belief that everyone deserves a second chance." Jennifer stood to respond. "Everyone, thank you so much for being here. Thank you for being part of my life, and thank you for letting me be part of yours. As I always say, I didn't save anyone. We saved each other, and we keep saving each other every day." She paused. "And you know what my greatest wish is for the years ahead." "What?" asked Hope, now a young woman of 26. "To see all of you keep spreading love and kindness in the world. To see Ethan, Hope, and every child in this huge family grow up and keep transforming more lives. Because in the end, the only thing that really matters is the love we give and the love we receive." Daniel moved closer to his wife. "And I want to toast the woman who taught me that it's never too late to start over, to build a family, to find true love." "Cheers!" everyone shouted. That night, after everyone had left, Jennifer was in the garden with Daniel, Mikey, Emma, and Ethan. "Grandma," said Ethan, "can I ask you something?" "Of course, sweetheart. If you could go back in time, would you change anything?" Jennifer thought for a few minutes. "You know, Ethan, I don't think I'd change a thing, not even being left at the altar." "Why?" "Because everything that happened, no matter how painful it was at the time, brought me here, to all of you. And I wouldn't trade this life for any other, not even for the wealthy life you had before. Especially not the wealthy life I had before, because now I know the difference between having money and being truly rich. And what's the difference? Money is what's in the bank account. True wealth is what's in the heart. It's having people who love you. It's having purpose in life. It's knowing you've made a difference in the world." Daniel held Jennifer's hand. "And you've certainly made a difference, my love." "We've made a difference," Jennifer corrected. "All of us together." Mikey looked up at the stars. "Mum, do you think Dad in heaven planned all this?" "I don't know, son. But if he did a perfect job." "Why do you say that?" "Because he brought together people who needed each other at the exact moment they needed it most. And he turned pain into love, loneliness into family, despair into hope. And anger into forgiveness," Emma added. "And fear into courage," said Ethan. "And sadness into joy," said Daniel. Jennifer smiled, looking at each of them. "You know I'm the luckiest person in the world, right?" "Why?" Ethan asked. "Because I got the perfect family just when I needed it most. And that family just kept growing and giving me more love than I deserve." "Mum," Mikey said, "you deserve all the love in the world." "And you'll get all the love in the world," Ethan added, "because we're going to keep loving you forever." "Forever," they all agreed. Jennifer gazed at the starry sky, feeling deep peace in her heart. At 70, she knew she'd lived a full life, rich with purpose and love. And it had all started on a dusty road, with a dirty wedding dress and a brave little boy who wasn't afraid to approach a stranger. 2 years later, Jennifer received an unexpected letter. "Dear Dr. Jennifer, my name is Sophie, I'm 15, and I live in a small town in England. My teacher gave me your book to read, and I wanted to tell you, your story changed my life. My parents divorced last year, and I was so angry at everything. But after reading about you and Mikey, I realized that sometimes the bad things that happen can turn into good things. I started volunteering in my town and discovered that helping others makes me feel better. Thank you for teaching me there's always hope. One day I'd love to meet you in person. With love, Sophie." Jennifer showed the letter to Mikey. "Son, our story reached England and changed a teenager's life. It's amazing how things spread, isn't it? It's the ripple effect, Mum. One good deed leads to others, and it'll keep spreading long after we're gone." "Mum, don't say that. Son, it's the truth. But it's not sad. It's beautiful. It's beautiful to know the love we've created will keep living and growing through the people we've touched." Ethan walked into the room just then. "What are you talking about?" "We're talking about how our story is inspiring people in other countries," Mikey explained. "That's so cool. Grandma, you've gone international." "We've gone international, Ethan. This story belongs to us, to all of us. And one day it'll belong to your children too," said Mikey. "My children? Of course. When you have kids, you'll tell them this story, and they'll tell it to their children." Ethan grew thoughtful. "That's true. Our story will pass from generation to generation. And each generation will add new chapters," said Jennifer. "Grandma, can I make you a promise?" "Of course, sweetheart. I promise I'll continue our family's work, and I'll teach my children to keep it going too." Jennifer hugged her grandson tightly. "That's the greatest legacy I can leave for you all. It's not money, not material things. It's this chain of kindness that will pass from generation to generation. And it's the most valuable legacy there is," said Mikey, "because it's the only one that multiplies instead of divides," Ethan finished. That night, Jennifer wrote in her diary, "Today I understood that my mission in life isn't just to help people. It's to create a wave of goodness that will keep spreading long after I'm gone. Every person we help will help others. Every child who grows up seeing love and generosity will spread love and generosity. That's how we change the world, one person at a time, one family at a time, one generation at a time." And it all started on a dusty road, when two lost people decided to help each other. How beautiful it is to realize there are no coincidences in life, only encounters that were meant to happen. End of story. So, what did you think of this story of resilience and love? Let us know in the comments which part moved you the most, and share if you've ever experienced a situation where an unexpected encounter changed your life. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss other heartwarming stories like this one.